Welcome back, everyone, to another Slab Stocks Monday YouTube live show here at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is Aaron, back this week to talk about a few market updates. Plus, we're going to dive into some World Cup discussion for soccer. As the World Cup is around the corner in November, we are now around a month away, or maybe a little bit over a month away, the actual date, but it starts in November, and very exciting times for those that like soccer or those that want to get into soccer, watch soccer on their TV, who maybe have never watched it before, as there will be multiple games played every single day for a few week period, and it should be pretty exciting times. So Nate's here for the discussion, but also Andrew will be joining us in 15 minutes, and you might have seen Andrew already if you've watched our Road to the World Cup series, but he's going to be introduced here live on the YouTube show. We'll talk to Andrew a bit about himself, his collecting journey, all that stuff, and then we'll get into some soccer discussion from there too. But Nate, thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Craven Cards in the chat early, and so is DNB Collectibles. Good to see you all. We are going to talk a little bit about other sports to start, not a whole lot, and then we, like I said, we'll jump into some more soccer discussion. Now, you might sit here and say, soccer, football, on Europe, I don't want to listen to that. But I encourage you, if you do want to, maybe learn something new or at least get to know Andrew, I'd encourage you to stick around, because we'll be talking about quite a bit, and maybe you'll learn something and can take it with you and apply it somewhere in life. Who knows? If you don't buy soccer cards, maybe not, but it might still be fun regardless. Now, we are looking at the PWCC Weekly Auction to start here, and our podium, of course. This might have been the most expensive card to ever sell through the weekly auction, Nate. 72 grand on the Luka.
I haven't seen. I feel like maybe there was one in the 60s one time, but it's few and far between.
Yeah, there might have been a LeBron that was around this amount, like a PSA 10 refractor at one point, but this is pretty much up there as one of the most expensive to sell through the weekly auction. Of course, bigger ones have sold through the Premier auction every month, but 72,000 for Luka Doncic, flawless, 15. Trey Lance still hit 30 grand for an NT PSA 1010 with the auto, numbered out of 99. A little surprising to me, Nate, especially since this would have had fully had, all of the bids out of the way since the injury. It's not like that this was ending the week that the injury happened. It was all fresh bids to get to 30K. And then, in my opinion, the best bang for the buck was the Muhammad Ali robe and trunk worn dual fight worn auto PSA 10 numbered out of 100. First of all, how many times do you see like a certified pack issued auto of Muhammad Ali? Secondly, how many times do you see as a PSA 10 or with fight worn gear in there? I mean, doesn't it seem kind of criminal that sold for $13,000 less than a Trey Lance with a random Dick's Sporting Goods jersey, Nate?
It is sign of the times, I think, that somehow Trey Lance can sell for that much more than Muhammad Ali. Guaranteed by the time no knock on Trey Lance, but by the time Trey Lance's career is done, there's still going to be a lot more people that know who Muhammad Ali is compared to Trey Lance.
Yeah, I wrote about this on Instagram, and I said, Trey Lance, greater than signed Muhammad Ali. I said, definitely not in the history books, but in the card market, hype and speculation sells, even if a guy's injured. And that's what appears to be here, Trey Lance. Now, Instagram did say 65% of the best bang for the buck was on the Luka Doncic, which, I mean, not necessarily surprising. It's just such an expensive card that you kind of feel like a Muhammad Ali PSA 10. I think it's like a pop 3, and it hasn't sold for 3 years now. I kind of feel like that has to take the cake, just in my opinion. You do see some Luka verticals pop up from Flawless, but Nate, what are you thinking on that? I don't want to speak for you.
I mean, come on, we're talking about an all-time great here.
Yeah.
Or two guys. One guy that is really good, but hasn't quite done anything yet in his career, and one guy who quite literally hasn't done anything in his career. So,
yeah. And not to mention, there are a lot of options for Luka Doncic. Now, yes, it is one of the better copies.
It is a sick card, though. I love the image on there.
Oh, with the layup or like the floater?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that too. It does look really good. Way better than like Zion listening to basketball, I'll tell you that much. For one up, one down, how could it not be Erling Haaland? I mean, obviously any amount of Aaron Judge cards could fit into here too right now, pretty much from a month ago. However, Erling Haaland just bagged his third hat trick of the season, this time against Manchester United in the Manchester Derby, which is pretty crazy, given that they are a top, 6 or 7 Premier League team at the moment, top 6 team, Manchester United. This is not like against like a bomb 3 team. Just incredible that what he's doing, 15 goals or 14 goals in 8 matches, on pace for like 60, 65 this season. Up 35% that finance goal refractor out of 50. But the Instagram audience still thinks that Haaland's a buy right now versus a sell. Did not give the hold option in there. Now, I do have to say, I know that we bought 3 autos, and a lot of you all know that too because we bought it live here on YouTube like a month ago about now. On the weekly auction, we bought a black out of 15 from Topps Chrome Transcendent, a refractor out of 25, and a base auto numbered out 44, all from Transcendent. And I'm very excited about those cards and know what I'm about to say next. We own those cards. So this is not, I know that there's some bias here, but seeing what happens with Aaron Judge, I understand it's a very, very long time standing record for the Yankees, home runs, AL, non-steroids, all that stuff. It's way more important to a lot of people, especially that collect cards, than a Premier League scoring record. But just seeing even a smidge of maybe something like that excitement coming for Erling Haaland breaking a Premier League goal scoring record gets me very excited to own a few of his autographs. That's all I gotta say.
What year was that record set?
The goal scoring record was 3 years ago, right? I understand that Roger Maris was like, 70 years ago or something like that, 60 years ago, 61 actually. No, trust me, I understand. It's a completely different thing. Kind of cherry picking, the excitement of Judge and plopping it over to Haaland. But
now, here's my question:
Yeah.
Judge is barely squeaking by a 61-year-old record, or might not, depending on if he gets any pitches in the strike zone in the last 3 games. Erling Haaland is, if he stays healthy and on this track, is going to obliterate it. I mean, just absolutely annihilate it. It'd be like Aaron Judge hitting 120 home runs.
Right. And then also Alan Scherer, I hope I said it right, and Andrew Cole, they both had 34 goals actually in a season, except that was in a season when there was 42 games in the Premier League before it switched to 38. So technically not like the record that's referenced right now versus Mohamed Salah's record. But either way, even 34 goals in 42 matches would still get destroyed by Haaland. So this would be a complete shattering of a record, like Nate's referencing. That was from back in the 90s. Now, I know it's not the 60s, but still. Manny says, can you believe people are getting happy about Judge? He is how many behind Bonds, Nate? Well, check this out, Manny. Maybe people who are bigger baseball fans can let me know in the comments, but like, I'm not one of those people that's going to say, oh, he's going to be 7th all time in the home run record list, whatever. I mean, those guys, like steroids, got them all those home runs. If you look, Nate, I think Bonds is.
I have a question for you.
What?
Do you sit here and say to yourself, Aaron Judge, 100% not taking anything?
Yeah, see, okay, I understand that. Until you don't know type of deal is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I don't know how, if we will ever know, or if, if nothing happens, if they don't, bust him, whatever. But I don't know, man. The guy's a physical specimen already as it was. Like, you could clearly tell in a lot of these guys, Nate, the difference between before steroids and after steroids. I don't necessarily know if you can tell the difference with
Barry
Judge.
Bonds before steroids was an MVP 2 times over.
No. I'm not talking about accolades. I'm talking about their physical nature and also how many home runs they hit. Bro, he hit like 49 home runs or something a season before he ended up hitting 73.
He was taking steroids the entire time. He only had 1 season above 50 home runs, and it was the year he hit 73, despite taking steroids every single year. So steroids didn't just help him magically hit 73. He was on a whole nother bender. If it was just steroids, he would have hit 73 every year.
I don't know, man. I feel there's something extra in that juice. That's a big difference.
No,
I guess.
No. Aaron Judge is not the home run leader. He is the AL home run leader. Yes, does it help to take steroids? Sure. But guys have been taking steroids for years and have not approached anywhere close to Barry Bonds' record.
And I understand the same deal here that he was good before. I do understand that. I don't want people to think I don't know that he's good before the whole steroid thing. But Will also says steroid thing is so tired. Been watching baseball for 40 years now. Bonds is the best player I've ever watched, period and end. Well, there you go.
I would agree.
And also, yes, Harry, I do agree with that too. I did not know Dixie Dean actually hit 60. However, I do know the Premier League record, or did start in 92. Dixie Dean holds the record with 60 goals in a season back in, let's see here. Well, he's died in 1980. 1927. 60 goals for Everton in just 30 games. At 21 years old.
I'm going to use the same I'm going to use the same argument that people use to say that like guys like Bill Russell and Wilt weren't good. He was playing against accountants and plumbers.
Yeah, Nate knows nothing about that time period in soccer. It's just funny because anyone will say that, no matter what you say about Wilts.
It's gonna be
Either
really
way,
fun in 40 years when we've got kids saying that Aaron Judge was playing against guys throwing like 80. It's gonna be
you're,
great.
oh, I see what you're saying. Um, Either way, well, if it is 60 back in the 1927 for Everton, if he breaks 60, then maybe there's some excitement to that level. Who knows? At least from the soccer card community specifically.
Yeah.
All right, we spent a long time on that. Apologies, Manny. You really got me whipped up there, Manny. Whoa, Jordan Lawler, single homer, 2 walks, and 3 RBIs in his first Arizona Fall League game. Bro, I'll
Hashtag
take
stud.
that. I actually listed the Green Refractor out to go in the Flip Quest ending this Sunday, so hopefully people are hyped up about Jordan Lawler. So really quickly, just to end here, some budget cards ended last night, Sunday night. Better budget buy Saban Lee. I don't even know if he gets into Pistons rotation. I think he might a little bit. And then Matisse Thybulle here, 2 golds, 1's yellow, numbered out of 10. Thybulle I thought would have way more votes than that, but 55% compared to Saban Lee's 45%. All right, we really need to get moving on though. We have very few minutes here now before Andrew is going to be joining. So the first part here, as you can see in the first part of the title, is just a few cards are actually increasing in October. Now, yes, this is a very small sample size here. Obviously, a lot of cards are trading down in price right now, especially just compared to the last 6 months to 9 months to a year. We've covered that at length in different monthly market reports on Instagram, here on YouTube. So I don't want people to look at these few cards we're about to talk on and be like, oh, wow, there's a lot of cards that are going up in price. It's a few. You got to be playing really well, and your expectations have to be pretty low before that. Like this guy, Geno Smith. Expectations about 0 1 year ago from today, before Russell Wilson broke his finger, I think it was, and then was out for half the season. Took over as a starter last year for Seattle. Beat out Drew Lock for the job this year, which, Nate, I think a lot of people are hyping up and buying Drew Lock cards before the year, much like Mitchell Trubisky. Don't really understand either of that, but Drew Lock and Mitchell Trubisky not making a lot of people money right now. However, Geno Smith, yes, making money. This exact card, number 22 out of 49, as a 9.5, sold a year ago for $61 and sold $61, Nate. It sold this morning for $850. So if you're taking notes at home and you're wondering, how do I make money on sports cards right now? Buy a guy that literally has no expectations, that maybe might never do anything, and you got a chance. I'm just messing around. Obviously, don't just go around and spend money without thinking about it. But Geno Smith, if you were a West Virginia fan or just thought maybe, hey, Russell Wilson might get traded, so might as well take Geno Smith, although I think a lot of people would have expected him to maybe make a move for a quarterback in the draft, which they didn't. Instead, trade for Drew Lock. And I hear Geno Smith is actually doing well this year. I think that they're 2-2, I think, maybe. But either way, he did have a nice game, and $850 was spent on this card.
That's amazing.
There you go.
It's also amazing that somebody bought it for $61. Like, if that was me, there's no way I'm saying I could do a lot with $61, or I could buy this Geno Smith card. Like, it's got to be a Geno Smith fan that just lucked into gold.
Well, that also has, I think that's a lot of times how it works too. Like if there's literally like a backup like that, like how many people are just like, I'm going to buy him because I think Geno Smith's going to be more valuable in the future? Very little people, which is why you see these things happen. You see people don't care. They don't think about it. And then next thing you know, he wins some games, and I'm sure it won't sell for $850
I want to
again.
know
Probably.
who's buying that for $850. Like,
Yeah,
who woke up yesterday and said, wow, they beat the Lions by 3 points. I got to have this card for $850.
Well, I also feel like that it wouldn't be a West Virginia fan or Geno Smith fan, because they had 10 years to buy his cards for cheap before this. Not just like 6 months, like 10 years. Like Jordan Poole, it was like a 6-month window, I feel like, or a year window maybe, that you could have grabbed his cards for a good value. This was 10 years.
Yeah. Whoa.
All right, what's another way? I guess you got to, tie or break a AL home run record here. Aaron Judge, I know we've talked about him a lot. Just want to show that really it doesn't matter what Aaron Judge card it is. You might never have thought that 2017 Bowman's Best Refractor PSA 10 would ever gain a good value, but here you are, 3 months. This is not 6 months. It's not 2 years, not 6 years. This is 3 months, $100 up to $450. I mean, this also just goes to show, like, this used to be like almost a standard, I feel like, Nate, for some people in the bubble, like in the NBA. You'd be like, oh, someone can do something like this in 3 months. But now guess what it takes? Almost breaking an all-time record.
Yeah, before it just took putting up like a 20-point game with like 3 blocks 2 games in a row. Shout out Bull, and whole world lit on fire.
Seriously, isn't that just crazy? I mean, different times for sure. And then Anthony Edwards here, some hype coming back to the basketball market with the season coming up from like the low point there around, I think it's like June. Most of these basketball cards hit like a pretty low point. There actually is some decent rebound and some rare ones. 2020 Prism Gold Wave PSA 10 has increased in value over the last, that's since June 1st is what that is. Now, a few soccer cards here we're just going to look at before we welcome Andrew in. So here is a 2020 or 2019 Topps Chrome Green Refractor of Holland, 4,000 to around 5,200 in the last few since May 1st. Sorry, this is blocking it. My cursor. Since May 1st, Kylian Mbappe is playing the World Cup. Holland is not, but he's been pretty awesome for PSG, scoring a lot of goals, not assisting too much, but scoring a lot of goals. Laser PSA 10 on the rise. Is that LeBron James? Is that the LeBron James of soccer right there?
That's the LeBron James of soccer.
Christian Pulisic. I mean, we're about to talk about this with Andrew, but his PSA 9 2016 Select Silver rookie PSA 9 in the last year. This is even with Pulisic being not great, has increased in value.
He's a washed king.
Well, I mean, I guess the washed king, yeah, just like Aaron Rodgers. But there is just Christian Pulisic. Even his cards have been seeing some increase here with the World Cup coming, and then October, here, November next month. But he hasn't really done much to justify that or the U.S. men's national team at all, which brings me to this right here. This was the last episode that was listed on our YouTube channel, or put live on our YouTube channel on Saturday for the road to the World Cup series. Too much hype for that U.S. men's national team. We will be talking about that with Andrew today. And with that, I want to welcome him to the screen right now, Andrew from St. Croix Cards. There he is.
How are you guys?
Good. Nate, what just happened there?
I'm getting him in the middle.
Oh, okay. There you go. Plopped him in the middle. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us today. And for anyone that does not know who Andrew is, like I said last time, I'm going to say this, our Road to the World Cup host for you all. You might have seen him already, but everyone in the chat, please welcome Andrew to the show. This is his first live stream. I know you're going to do great. But Andrew, start us off. Just let us know, man. Why are you here? Why do you love cards? And what are you doing in the card market, I guess?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Just I'm excited to be here. I'm just excited to be a part of a community of soccer card collectors, right? That's what we do here, and that's the passion here is all about cards and all about soccer. And for a while there, I don't know if anybody can relate, but I was a fan pretty much by myself, right? So you'd get up early on Saturday mornings, watch soccer, dive in, look at stats, and really it was me, right? And I didn't have a whole lot of people who followed soccer, and so stumbling into the soccer card market kind of by chance, and starting to get back into cards, I was like, wow, there's a huge community here, and this is great. So I love cards, I love soccer, but I love this community and I love the people in it, and that's why I really like the Road to the World Cup. It's just a way for us all to get together and enjoy the beautiful game together.
That's awesome. You just summarized it perfectly why we're doing this. Great to hear. I'm super excited.
Real quick.
Go ahead, Nate.
Quick. I can't help but notice that Andrew has a beautiful pullover on. What position are they in the Premier League table?
We are number 1 at the moment, right?
Oh, number 1. Where's Chelsea?
Not number 1. That's for sure.
Not number 1.
Oh man, they did get the 2-1 win. They did get the 2-1 win this weekend. And if I'm not mistaken, Conor Gallagher has now one more goal than Mason Mount, right?
Oh, Aaron? Wow, that is a low blow.
Sorry. Sorry. No,
I'm just.
But it was a great goal. If you saw it, it was a great goal.
Yeah, no, Gallagher's goal was amazing. And we got some people welcoming Andrew here. Jordan welcomes Andrew to the stream, and same with Manny. Thanks, guys, for being here tonight. And Jordan says, shame you don't have more energy. Andrew, let's pick it up a little bit. Come on.
I'm sorry. I can pick it up. Like I get it's
no, I'm just messing with you.
Energy is what it's all about, right?
Exactly. All right.
Real quick.
Yeah. Oh, Nate, interrupting. Go ahead.
One last thing. Francesco, I'm gonna need you to look at Barry Bonds' Pittsburgh stats before you open your mouth. There we go.
Uh-oh. Nate or Francesco, let Nate know once you look at his Pittsburgh stats, and we'll come back to it. But so yes, like I said, he's doing the Road to the World Cup series. We are now in you've done 4 episodes. 5th is going to come out this Saturday in Group
Yep.
C, because you took 2 episodes to talk about Group B, which is here. But first of all, just for people who might be watching, I'm sure half the people watching know what the World Cup is and how it works. For the other half that don't know and also have not tuned into one of your episodes tonight or yet this year so far, just let us know about this World Cup format. And you look at like 32 different squads here, national teams. How does this get to the final?
Yeah, so it really, the World Cup always breaks down into 2 parts. You start with group play. You got 8 groups, 4 teams per group, which means every team will play the other 3 teams in their group. Again, it works the same format as soccer. If you win, you get 3 points. You tie, you get 1. You lose, you get nothing. And the top 2 teams in the group at the end of group play would move into kind of what is part 2, which is the knockout stage, where it's kind of that single elimination tournament that runs you all the way in to have that World Cup champion. So that's really, I mean, it's 2 phases really, starting, that later November the 20th and running until December 20th. But it gets fun when the knockout stages begin, right?
Oh, so when does the very first group stage game start?
So November 20th is going to be the kickoff,
Okay.
and that'll be Ecuador versus Qatar, because the host nation always plays in that first game, and then it'll run from there.
There you go. And speaking of sleepers, so down on the farm says Denmark has some sleepers card wise. Isn't no, I was gonna say Odegaard's Norwegian, right? He's not Danish.
So you're looking at, Christian Eriksen is going to be kind of the headliner there, but yeah, they've got some young talent. Denmark might surprise some people. Joachim Anderson, he plays center back for Crystal Palace. Christian Anderson, Barcelona was Chelsea. Right? Or not Anderson, Christensen.
Yeah, I was gonna say Andrew Christensen, right?
Christensen is there. So they got a pretty well-balanced team. I'm excited to see what they do. And they're in a group that they should be able to slot into that second position. I mean, France is probably going to win that round 1 or to take that group, but against Tunisia and Australia, pretty good chances.
There we go. Awesome. So something that I think a lot of people who are in the soccer card market right now, or maybe who never bought soccer cards, but has been like watching from afar over the last 2 to 3 years, obviously back in 2019, just to set the stage, soccer cards pretty cheap in price, especially compared to today, but definitely compared to other markets. Considering how big of a fandom there is around soccer worldwide, cards increased a lot come 2020. Early 2021, they were hitting some of the highest values that they've hit. Meaning like right here, that's 425, April 25th, 2021. That's a Phil Foden purple velocity at 125 PSA9. So for 1,275. You fast forward to today, like a year and a half later, since those kind of peak values were getting hit. And we're down to like 510 on this Foden specifically, which he has had a hat trick against Manchester United as well. But talk to me about people who have been in the soccer card market, maybe bought soccer cards around this time in April, in May of 2021, maybe in March or even in the summer, and they're looking at their collection today, or if you want to refer to it as a portfolio, if you're just buying these to sell them and flip them. What do you have to say to those people that might be like, oh man, I'm down quite a bit on value right now. Like, what should I do? Like, should I just get rid of them before the World Cup? Like, if all I was doing this for financially was just to, World Cup was my limit. Do I just sell them right now? Do I wait and actually see if these guys pan out? Is it just player dependent? I just want to hear what you have to say, Andrew.
Yeah. I guess the first thing, my question would always be, why do you have the soccer to begin with? Is it to collect? Is it to truly to kind of, collect the teams that you love and the players that you love? Well, if that's the case, it really doesn't matter. You're right. You're not going to move those cards if you're collecting them. If it was more for like to make money or to flip, I think the question you have to ask yourself is, one, who is the player? Now, is it Phil Foden? Is it Robin Lewandowski? Is it Messi? Is it Ronaldo? Or is it kind of fringe players? Who are those players? Because I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, we've seen just the amazing run that Haaland's been on. Can it continue? Can prices continue to go up? I mean, if you're still buying Haaland way back when prices were astronomical, I think there is room that that gap could close. Now, could it ever get back to where it was? No, I don't think so in the near future. But again, you have to look at every situation as individual to the person. Do you need the income? Do you need the liquidity? Then yeah, maybe you should move at a loss. And what you can do with that extra $500 or $700, what can you purchase that you could, continue to grow that again? I think a lot of times we get afraid of taking the loss. And sometimes if you're holding on to a card that isn't doing any good and just continues to go down, at some point you got to say, okay, I need the money in order to, make that next move. So I think it's just dependent on where you're at and who you're invested in or who you have.
Yeah, and I know you don't think this, but Erling Haaland, as he was referencing, is another unique situation because he's not playing the World Cup. So
True.
there is no opportunity, let's say, from late November into mid-December for him necessarily to gain a lot of value based on anything. Like there's no Man City games when the World Cup's happening. So like he's just going to be sitting there basically. Go ahead, Nate.
Real quick for a relative soccer newbie like myself and other people out there, when you say Erling Haaland, best player in the world by probably a long shot, not playing in the World Cup, how bad does the rest of – he's Norwegian, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How bad does the rest of Norway have to be, like, from a skill level to not make the World Cup?
Well, I mean, I guess, part of that, too, is Erling Haaland was injured during qualification, last year. So they missed out on that. And I think that it's dependent because we're also looking at a World Cup without Italy. I mean, and they had just won the Euros,
which is crazy.
Which is just, crazy to think about. So there's paths to not make the World Cup. I don't think that'll, Norway will miss out in 2026 because they're expanding the field a little bit. So there might be better chances for Norway to sneak in there. But I mean, again, he's on such a historic run right now in the Premier League that even taking a World Cup off, I don't know what that – I mean, people are going to be wanting to see him play when they come back if he continues the run. And for me, Haaland, it's always, he's phenomenal. Can he stay healthy?
Yeah, definitely the health is a huge factor here, especially when we were just talking about, goal scoring records. Like to do that, you got to stay healthy. If you get hurt, you're out for half the season. Obviously hurts the total goals and everything. Not average goals, but total goals definitely. Manny's got a trip for Nate. Nate, it's kind of like Arsenal not making the Champions League. So
Whoa.
That's right. Arsenal is kind of like the best team in the Premier League. They just didn't make it.
Tim's been to Norway and it's cold. Okay, thanks, Tim. I can say from pictures it does look pretty cold. But another thing I want to add in, I agree with what Andrew said. Depends on which players you have, especially like we just bought last night a Jude Bellingham gold refractor out number 50 from Stadium Club on our flip quest on PWCC. Now you could say, oh, we bought that too close to when the World Cup's starting, which could be very true. I mean, there's a chance that England flops, that Jude Bellingham flops. They don't play well and he doesn't play well. Because England has not looked good recently. Just to be completely honest, they've not looked good, just like the USA. And there's a chance that the card loses value, and so it does. But I'm excited about Jude Bellingham's future at the club level, knowing that he's going to get a big transfer here in the near future, maybe to a Premier League club, maybe to Real Madrid if they're going to go spend another 100 million euros on another midfielder or something like that, to where I think there's some potential there outside of just the World Cup specifically. If you're buying specifically just for the World Cup, it definitely gets a little bit more dangerous at this point because you're really on a short time window. You're going to try to flip it quick, and you really got to pick the right person and card. And picking the right cards is another thing I want to say, because a lot of Erling Haaland values, maybe not like the vast majority, but some of them have actually increased since those early 2021, really expensive prices. Like his green refractor that we just highlighted earlier in this episode, the PSA 9, that card was around like $5,000 April 2021. But that's the exact same time that like the Sapphire base PSA 10 was like $4,000, and those are like now $1,000. I'll agree with Andrew. Those Sapphire base PSA 10s probably aren't ever going back to $4,000. But that green refractor has already made value over the last year. So it just shows, just as important as picking the right player, picking the right cards, just as important as that. And that's why I like what Andrew's doing too in the Road to the World Cup series, because Andrew's taking a bunch of different cards, a bunch of different budget values, and looking at, hey, for someone who can spend $10 or $1,000 or $500, what does this World Cup look like for me? So Andrew, kudos to you for making sure to hit all segments of the market.
Yeah, and I think that's the great thing, like with this community, is that everybody's at a different price point. So it is difficult to try to pull everybody in, but I think that's important too. To your budget isn't low enough where you can't afford to get into this market, and it's even if it's high, there's high end stuff for people too. So I think there's something for everybody in the soccer card market. And I think we just have to allow people the chance to educate them, right? As a former teacher, just to try to educate and to teach, because that's part of it too, is to bring new people into the community.
Definitely. I agree with you. All right. Next up, what we're looking at here, this is Tyler Adams. I'd say like he's not like, at the Christian Pulisic height or Gio Reyna height from like random people who don't really follow soccer know those names, but he's definitely more so than like the Joe Scaly that we're going to talk about in a bit. For a guy like Tyler Adams, midfielder for Leeds United right now in the Premier League, do you think that like someone like this plays well in the World Cup? I'm sure people are going to notice and want to, jump after their cards. But the values right now, you brought up $360 for a Topps Chrome rookie auto PSA 9 out of 25 from Bundesliga. Like that is very inexpensive compared to maybe the vast majority of other cards out there. Do you think there's opportunity with guys like this, kind of not at the top like the McKennies and the Pulisic, but kind of in the middle of the U.S. men's national team?
Personally, I think there is. If you're looking at price points, and I always like to say, okay, who else is in the set? And of course, when I talked about Tyler Adams, I said, okay, well, let's look at what Holland is doing. But I think that guys like this who can, maybe score a goal or make an impact or make that, that iconic moment in the World Cup for the U.S. men's national team, if it is going to come, you're going to see a movement in price. I think it can only go up, and it's so, there's not much, you're looking at cards that are out of 25. So pop count is going to stay super low. It's numbered. It's what people want in the hobby, and they're going to be going out and looking for it. And the nice thing is he's in some of those iconic sets.
Now let's give the other side of the coin. U.S. men's national team just either lost or drew. They lost to Japan, right? And then
they lost 2-0 to Japan and didn't look good doing it. And then they drew to Saudi Arabia and didn't look good doing it either.
Right. So the other end of the spectrum is, all right, U.S. men's national team completely flops.
Yep.
They don't even make it out of the group stage. They maybe get a few points out of the group stage, and Tyler Adams and some of those guys that people have been holding cards up for 2 years do virtually nothing. What happens, 6 months from now, even a month from now, 3 months from now?
You could see it. That's the risk, right? That's what the risk that we take. But the other thing that is encouraging to me is we failed to. I mean, people do mention it, but this is the youngest team in the World Cup by a lengthy margin, right? And in 4 years' time, and I hate bumping it out, and I don't want to bump it out, but the World Cup is coming in the summer in 2026 to the United States, to Mexico, and to Canada. And the same players you're seeing, if they're playing at a high level at Leeds, Tyler Adams, there's a very good chance that he's still in the team in 2026. So I think people are looking at this World Cup being like, this is where, the appreciation happens. But really, this team is so young. These players are so young. They're going to still be in the prime of their careers the next go around. So for me, it's never been like, hey, how can I capitalize, right now? I think there could be some capitalization, but it's also, for me, soccer has always been a long, long play. And that's my love of the game. Like, my love of soccer is what got me into cards. And so I'm going to love soccer, and I'm going to love the players, and I'm going to love the cards that I have because I love this game. So for me, it's a little different mentality.
Right. So I want to bring up this whole Tyler Adams value thing once again, not because I'm thinking like Tyler Adams is like the most ridiculous player in the world or anything, but you have it here, $90, July 18th for that raw orange out 25. I understand this is a PSA 10, but last year, the Gio Reyna orange refractor out 25 PSA 10 sold for $10,000. Now, based on the market drop since then and his injuries and stuff, I'd say it's more closer to like $5,000 right now. But even if, that is a vast difference in price. I understand that Gio Reyna is super young, probably a more highly touted prospect. But how much of the U.S. men's national team market do you think is built on like hype alone, to where if it is a big disappointment this time around, I understand I just kind of ask like what happens to those values, but like, is that something to be worried about? The top players, the Pulisics and the Reynas, there's so much hype built into their cards that if they fail, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, I guess, to their markets.
And here's where in the last episode too, I talked about it. Like, I'm not a fan of the hype. I think we've overhyped this team. I think, the people who are holding cards of U.S. men's national team, they're hyping these guys to the moon. Even Fox, they're hyping this team because, again, the ratings are going to mean everything in this World Cup. So a lot of people are hyping this team up. And if you don't know the game, you're like, you're expecting them to make a run to the semifinal or the final. And for me, it's like, guys, you got to look at what's happened, how they fared, and where we're going. So yeah, I think it's way overhyped. When you can start buying, Christian Pulisic rookie cards at the same price as, some higher end, Ronaldo stuff. Like, to me, it's like, what are you doing?
Like right here.
Yeah,
The
like
silver-
right there. Oh, this is great. Like 2016 select. Here's the mezzanine rookie Christian Pulisic. I know it's a rookie. PSA 10, $1,920 for the exact same price. You can get the Ronaldo National Pride Gold Pop 1 PSA 10 for the same price.
You might even be able to get the Ronaldo cheaper today.
And to me, that's the, when you look at this, and we've hyped it up too. The hobby finds it funny to call him the LeBron James of soccer. But if you know nothing about soccer, when you hear the words LeBron James, you associate it with greatness, and he hasn't done that yet. Like, he's never reached those kind of things. Yes, he's won a Champions League with Chelsea, but it wasn't because he was the talisman. It wasn't because it was on his backs alone. It's not like the hand of God for Maradona. It's not like he's carrying that team to a World Cup title. So he'd have to do something crazy in this World Cup to either sustain, in my opinion, or what does he have to do to make that price go even higher?
Yeah, I agree. I got a good question here from Jay. Also, I want to point out the whole LeBron.
Sorry, I got excited there for a second.
That's good. That's good stuff. The whole LeBron James of soccer thing. We have an Instagram Reels coming out tomorrow on this, but that is from a Pawn Stars episode.
Yes, it is.
Where someone brought in a Christian Pulisic signed Chelsea jersey, and they're like, their expert says he's a LeBron James of soccer, or the guy trying to sell it. I think it's the guy trying to sell it.
It is the guy trying to sell it.
And then the expert said that he's in the likes of Ronaldo and Messi.
Ooh.
But JT Sparks, good question here. And feel free to ask questions tonight, everyone, as you're going. We're here to answer, and we will do that at the very end too. But JT says, hey, fellas, I just got back a U23 2020 Merlin Orange Refractor out 23, maybe out 25, I think, from PSA as a Gem 10. Congrats on the grade. It's a Pop 1, and I was curious as to its value. Any idea? Thank you. So I just actually went on and searched up some things on Card Ladder Pro, and the last numbered copy of this card was actually a Red Out of 5, which looks super sick, but as a PSA 9, sold for $153. It is an insert. The U23 isn't like super sought after, but I'd say for like the orange PSA 10, I'd expect somewhere right around the red PSA 9. I just imagine it's a pretty similar value. 150 is maybe something you could bet on. Also depends on when you sell it, though. Are you selling it in club season like right now, or waiting for that World Cup? Yeah. When maybe England, Saka's making some appearances there, could go higher if he's doing well. Obviously,
who do you think makes more appearances, Mason Mount or Saka?
Well, if it was like 3 months ago, I'd say Mount, but at this point, I'm not necessarily sure. I mean, he didn't start the last match for them that they played in the Nations League, although they didn't play very well even without him playing. So I mean, they're going to be testing a lot, I think, and I think they'll both get their runs. But Mount did score though in the last Nations League game. Did he start though, Andrew? I think he came in off the bench.
I think he came off the bench, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, he did score though, so at least he's got some goal to his name this year, and it was in the Nations League for England.
So real quick question here. The group stage, right? It's the top 2 teams.
Yeah.
And it's England, United States, Wales, and Iran.
Yep.
Correct.
So is there a real good chance that, obviously I assume, I could be super wrong here, I assume that the team on the bottom is the worst team in the grouping, but I don't know if that's accurate. Is there a chance that like from an upset standpoint, Group B could be the biggest upset? Maybe a Wales could walk out of there if England and United States are struggling as bad as you guys are saying?
It's very possible that an upset happens, but listen, like I'm, after watching the international friendlies and even the World Cup qualifiers, the United States hasn't looked good, and I know England is like, okay, they didn't play well, but they didn't they tie 3-3 to Germany?
Yeah, they did.
You saw flashes of like, this is what this team can do offensively. For the United States, I think, we're struggling to score goals on the front end, and we're struggling on the back, on the back line. So we're really struggling on all fronts. And so, yeah, I could see a Wales or even an Iran. What people are failing to talk, Iran's not a bad club, and they're essentially playing at home in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. So, you start to like those dynamics and the weather and the new scenery, like it all plays a factor. And I think very easily one of those teams could sneak in. And we've seen upsets in the past. We've seen great teams not get out of group, and I mean, it's a best of 3 essentially.
Yeah, that is definitely interesting. No doubt about it. If like a Wales and Iran walk out of that group and leave
Could you
England and the United
imagine?
States at
Ugh.
home. Andrew, just because we're on this slide again with the groups,
Yep.
what would you call the group of death in this year's World Cup?
The group of death. Wow. I don't know if there's like a group of death, but H to me is really interesting. You got Portugal, you got Uruguay, you got South Korea. I like Group H. It's going to but I also like Group F, and I think it's going to be really tough to come out of Group F as well. I think there people are really underestimating Canada. I think Canada's got a great offensive. Jonathan David's up there, Tajon Buchanan. You've also
Alphonso
got
Davies.
Alphonso Davies. Like you got some good stuff there. Belgium, they've had that golden generation for years. Kevin De Bruyne, even Romelu Lukaku. Hazard there for a while. You've got so much talent there too. Croatia is always gonna make a play there as well. I think that could be Blahojevic, right? Is he Croatian? Or is he Serbian?
Yeah, I think he's Serbian.
Serbian,
yeah,
but
Serbian.
I mean, those last 3 groups I think are going to be really, and even like Brazil's group. What people don't, I mean, if you go back to World Cup qualifying, Switzerland and Serbia didn't lose a game in qualifying.
And Switzerland beat France in the Euro last year.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting dynamics here. Am I saying Brazil's not going to get out of group? Let's not get crazy. Like
I was about to say Brazil has the most people I know. So
yeah, I just think like we always go in thinking like, okay, FIFA rankings, this team's going to move on, this team's going to move on, and the quality is there. So I would say Group F is interesting to me. I think Group F, Belgium, Canada, Croatia. Because Croatia, has made deep runs before. This could be another deep run as well. Luka Modric, what is he left in the tank? But it could get
real quick question: if you could pick one team from this list that you think is going to disappoint outside of the United States,
one team that, well, I mean, I make it. I don't want to get like skewed to but I think Brazil's going to disappoint because they're not going to win it, and if they don't win it, it's a disappointment.
Oh, okay, fair.
I mean, I think that's
like the Packers every year.
If you're the United States, you got a group, like people aren't disappointed. People are like, yeah, we got out of group. Like if Brazil doesn't win the World Cup, I think that's a major disappointment. It's a major disappointment every 4 years if they don't win it.
Okay, cool.
I'm looking at this. I'm trying to figure out like, oh man, what team would be the disappointment? I feel like it's just throwing darts at a dartboard at this point, especially when we're talking about the top teams. It's like, who knows? Belgium could flop. They've got some amazing talent, but they could flop. Like you never know. So we just got to wait and see, I guess.
And I mean, we're still a month away. I mean, we're 40, 48, 49 days away. I mean,
injuries can happen.
We're at, any major injuries, that could derail the whole thing. Neymar goes down in the next month. What happens?
Yeah.
Gabriel Jesus and Gabriel Martinelli just take his place. Carry on. No big deal.
Drive it to a World Cup.
Nate just wants Arsenal to win that World Cup for them so badly, and I'm sure Andrew does too. But Will,
I do too. Yeah, right.
Will says, "Remember, Nate, Europe is so stacked that any weak European team is dangerous. Caesar, national teams will be passionate about playing at a World Cup. Never underestimate anyone."
Correct.
Definitely true there. Croatia made it to the World Cup final in 2018, just the last one.
I have one last question about that from a soccer noob.
Yep.
So he says national teams will be passionate about playing at a World Cup. I assume that a lot of that has to deal with fan support back at home and all that stuff. You can really feel the love. Do you think that maybe a country like United States, where there's not as, at least from my point of view, and you guys could have a different point of view, where there's not as much love for the U.S. men's national team as there would be for like a men's Olympic basketball team? Do you think that plays a role where like in some of these countries, this is what they have and they're going to be feeling all that love and support and pride, and maybe the men's national team doesn't have that?
Let me just give it my perspective quick before Andrews talks. And I should have said this earlier, the biggest problem with this World Cup, I'm sure Andrew referenced it in his episodes, is that it's happening in the fall into December, right when NFL is going, NBA is going, NHL is going. There's all these different sports on. F1's winding down. Not that F1 is that big here, obviously, compared to around the world too. But like the fact that it's not during the summer when like that, and then it's just baseball that people could really latch onto here in America, is a big miss for the U.S. men's national team. The NFL is going to take a lot of people's eyeballs away from this.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And people being just in school, like Andrew said, because the matches happen during like the mornings until like the early afternoons.
Yeah, I mean, I have students who are, or did have students who are big soccer fans, and to expect them not to be checking computers and their phones about the game, like that's, but they're not going to be able to watch it in real time. So I think, yeah, that's a big key component. But I think and maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, like, I don't necessarily know too many people that go crazy over track and field or swimming. And every 4 years in the Olympics, we don our U.S. American gear and we cheer like nobody's business and expect gold medals because, sometimes we're like, well, yeah, it's America. We got to win, right? And so I think people get behind the flag in a way, and they're going to get excited for it. And the nice thing, I mean, good or bad, United States plays England the day after Thanksgiving. No football, no work. 1:00 in the afternoon, you can watch the team, and it's either going to be we win or we play real well and yay, or it could go disastrous and we could be in a world of hurt. But I think we tend to get behind the team because they're representing the country. But yes, there's so many other factors that are playing in right now.
Yeah,
I would
and
bring up the other things in Olympics though, because like it's true. I mean, swimming and gymnastics does not exist for me for 3 years in like 50 weeks. And then all of a sudden for 2 weeks out of those 4 years, I'm a big swimming and gymnastics fan,
Yep.
funny thing is Andrew said, oh, you don't know people who are huge track and field fans, but one of my really good friends from high school is such a big track and field fan that we were watching like just some sports one night back last summer when I visited, and he just flips the channel to this track and field competition. I'm like, dude, are you actually watching? He goes, yeah, like watch this stuff every week. And this year he traveled to Oregon for the World Championships at the Oregon Ducks facility out there. It was crazy. I'm like, what the heck? I actually do know someone who's like a crazy track and field fan.
Well, and I guess, yeah, I shouldn't say that nobody, but I mean, most people don't turn their attention,
right?
Until it's the either Olympic qualifying or the actual Olympics.
I agree with you too. Manny says you have the height for gymnastics, and you would kill it. Oh man,
I have to fight him now. Those are fighting words, Manny. Fights back on.
I don't think anyone wants to see him do gymnastics anyways. So.
Maybe I'll wear one of those leotards.
Oh, man. JT says, my buddy has a table at the show this weekend in Vegas and is tempted to take some offers on it. Well, I'll be there at the show in case anyone is going to be at the Vegas show. Feel free to say hi. I think Manny will be there.
Wait, you're going to be at the Vegas show?
Yeah, you knew that. I told you that.
Did I know that?
Yeah, you did know that.
And then,
what the heck am I thinking of? I was going to say Jeremy, but no, Jordan. I don't know why I forgot that for a second. Jordan, who I believe is watching right now too, is going to be there. And Jerry, there we go. There's so many G's in this chat right now. Jerry wants to see Nate do a flip.
I would do a flip on camera right here if you guys also wanted to watch me break my neck and die on camera.
Will would super chat for the Nate flip. Oh man. All right, we're gonna keep moving along here. I want to move into something here that honestly I never heard this guy's name, Ismaili Sarr, until Andrew brought him up in the Group A discussion on his episode. And it's not necessarily about Sarr specifically we're going to talk about right now, but the general idea of people like Sarr who have got very few cards can feature on these national teams and maybe make a difference. We're seeing in the NFL right now, which I get it's the NFL football, whatever. But like TJ Hawkinson has his best game of his career. And like his top 5th most expensive card just sold last night. And like a ton of different like $25 to $75 cards are selling, where when the World Cup's happening, in the market that we know of today, as a sports card market with a lot of money involved, even if prices have trended down over the last year, it's still way different than 3 or 4 years ago, especially for soccer. Yeah. Andrew, we've never seen a World Cup happen with this excitement in especially the soccer card market. So I want to know, in your opinion, not talking about Sarr specifically, but players in this realm, you can get a nice rookie card, numbered out 99 for $50. Is there going to be a lot of these different dudes who score a goal here, get the winner to send them through to the round of 16 there, and you're going to actually see triple or quadruples in price? Very unpredictable, but is that what we're going to see?
I think, I mean, we've kind of come to that, right? Where you kind of get to the point where people are expecting, a goal. If they get a goal or, a brace or even a hat trick, and all of a sudden people are like, who is this guy? And they're doing the research and they're gobbling them up. I think so. I mean, people are interested in soccer. I think just the caveat is a lot of people don't know a whole lot about it, and they're going to be tuning in. They're going to be watching, and you can, I mean, at $47 for, a blue cracked ice, I mean, it's low risk relatively for a nice reward if he plays well. And he's an interesting one. I mean, Watford's in the championship, right? So you aren't going to 2019 was his rookie in Prism, and then you don't get one in 2021 or 2020 because they were relegated, and then they come back in 2021. So you also have to play this kind of yo-yo of relegation versus where you find them in products. So, I mean, it's an interesting, like where we always can expect an Aaron Jones card in football, as a guy from Wisconsin, you're going to find him in every set. For some of these guys who bounce between Premier League and Championship, like you're not going to see him in product because their team's not in the Premier League.
Also, really quick, which national team is he on?
Senegal.
Oh, I
so
knew
he'll be playing, Sadio Mane, he'll be playing alongside. And so he's also got, guys around him that, they could make some noise. But the other thing that I think not a lot of people are talking about as well is somebody like this in the championship. He plays really well at the World Cup. It ends December 20th, and the winter transfer market opens January 1. Right? So you have, the transfer market where some other team could swoop in and snatch this guy up for big money.
Definitely. Interesting, no doubt about it, that there is multiple dimensions to soccer cards versus with football cards. You get drafted, you're on a team, maybe you get signed to a new team, because trades really don't happen that frequently in American football. But like, you move a team, and then maybe people start buying up your cards for that reason, especially like a quarterback. But in soccer, like there is really like a multitude of different ways these guys are playing, performing, moving teams can go up in value, this and that. And then here's just a USA men's national team kid, Joe Scaly, who I never heard about until he actually got these new 2021 cards. So that's the other thing too about this is I want you to touch on briefly, not spend too much time, but some of these guys on this U.S. men's national team, Scaly, Ferreira, and Pepe, their first cards came in MLS sets along with Tyler Adams.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that the caveat here is to also recognize like Joe Scaly is not guaranteed to be on the U.S. men's national team. He's kind of that fringe player. November 9th is the day that we're going to get to know who actually is on the team. So he's in the running, but is he a lock guaranteed? No. But I think, those fringe guys, you can pick them up. I know the Bowman set is standalone because it's an on-demand set. And so you couldn't get them, pack pulled. But I mean, you can get some really great color golds out of 50 out of Stadium Club. Great imagery on that set. I love Stadium Club. $20, $20.50 for an out of 50 goal. Like, to me, if you're a men's national team fan, pick him up. He's 19. Next World Cup, he's 23. He plays in the Bundesliga. Like, he's overseas. You could watch him on ESPN Plus. Like, it's, you have the opportunity to see him on a week in and week out.
I think Tech is trying to make fun of me for saying Oregon instead of Oregon. Everyone I've known from Wisconsin says Oregon. And then I moved to Minnesota, and I realized that everyone there says Pop in Oregon. So
I mean, we all played Oregon Trail, right?
Exactly. Let's play the Oregon Trail.
Wait, have you played Oregon Trail, Aaron?
Oh, absolutely.
I played it when I was younger, but then also the hilarious videos on YouTube from Critical or Penguin Zero who plays Oregon Trail.
That was in my childhood. I may be dating myself, but I'm a little older, I think.
The real question is, did you actually like play the game right and buy, medicine and extra sets of clothes, or did you just buy all the fun things before setting out, and then all of your people died of hypothermia and like
See, I'm of the age of like, if you got your homework done fast enough, you could go to like the 3 ancient dinosaur computers at the back of the room and play Oregon Trail. And so then it was not like, hey, play it right. It was how far could you get in the 15 minutes you had left in the period. So you just went as fast as you could and got as far as you could. But everybody, eventually died.
I probably just grabbed as much ammo as possible from my memory. I just took like 300 rounds of ammo, and
the hunting was the best part of the game.
Absolutely. Let's find some buffalo. How did we get here?
So Tech Jose in the chat says next World Cup will be the big one. So everyone sitting here right now might be like, oh wow, that 2022 World Cup came up fast. In my mind, this World Cup did not time out super well with the card market, the world economy, all that stuff to kind of get like a true, maybe like the hype that people were expecting like a year and a half ago. But 2026 is a while from now. We can't predict how
Yeah.
everything's going to go in the world. But from the perspective of like, dude, the World Cup isn't only here, but it's in North America, like meaning here figuratively. It's like actually here where we're sitting.
Yes.
What type of impact do you think it's going to have? Maybe not in the card market specifically, but just in general from fandom wise.
Well, I think it's huge. I mean, just look at the growth from I'm going to say 2014 to now, because 2018 we didn't qualify, right?
Mhm.
This is new for everybody. If you're new to soccer in the last 8 years, this is the first World Cup. And so I think another 4 years of growth. Look at how many more players are in Europe. How many, the MLS 8 years ago might have maybe looked more like hey, we brought really big names at the end of their careers. And now you got players like Alphonso Davies, Joe Scally. You've got all these guys going overseas now, and clubs are looking at this as a viable option for young talent. That's only going to continue to grow. The infrastructure's here. And I think soccer is just going to continue to grow in popularity. And I even see it in collectors, or guys asking about soccer. Very rarely do I see, I mean, it's mostly young kids. Hey, do you got any soccer? Hey, can I look through your box? Am I going to find this player or this player? I think the demographic of soccer collectors are on the younger side because it's a newer fringe, it's a newer sport. It's not fringe. I mean, I guess it is fringe, but it's newer to a lot of people. But a lot of those young kids, they got better stuff than I do. And I'm like, where did you get this?
That definitely happens quite a bit. Chris says, could this be the last World Cup for Ronaldo and Messi? And yes, it's very possible that this is the last World Cup for maybe one or each of them. Who knows what happens with Messi? He might have a little bit left in the tank by then. But Andrew, what's your estimation on that? Last one for both, for one, for neither?
I never like to say enough's enough. I grew up in Wisconsin. I think I said Brett Favre was done 3 times. So I've learned my lesson to say, oh yeah, they're officially done. I know Ronaldo.
Well, you might be able to say he's officially done now. But.
Yeah, right. But Ronaldo even came out and said he wants to play in the Euros and in 2 years, and we'll see if that happens. But yeah, I mean, Messi I think is 35 at this point. So 4 years later, he'd be 39. It's possible. But is it likely? Probably not. But you're seeing the generational talents, Messi, Ronaldo, even Robert Lewandowski. Like this could be it for him as well. So yeah, it's a big World Cup for these guys.
And that's especially for Poland if they don't qualify. I know that the field's expanding, so there's a chance that they do qualify again. But at least from my perspective, there's not that many like big young star Polish kids that could help carry them 4 years from now. Like Lewandowski obviously has been doing, to get them to the World Cups and everything like that. Chris says, what's up, gentlemen? What's up, Chris? You just made it just in time for the end. Jordan says, my friend Scott, he was in the live stream last night for the PWCC Live, is the one who bought the silver PSA 10 Pulisic that we're comparing to the gold National Pride Ronaldo. Well, we wish good luck with that card.
Yeah.
Anything can go well, remember. If he scores goals, like it could be the exact opposite of how we were talking, too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he scores a hat trick or is in the running for the the golden boot of the tournament. Sure, yeah, absolutely. Goes to a different level.
Yeah, so it's just yet to be seen up to this point. And Chris says, any updates on Florian Wirtz, a player I was very excited about, hopefully for the World Cup until he tore his ACL. I haven't seen if he's been actually with the senior team at all. Have you, Andrew?
I haven't. I don't think he is in line to play. I mean, even if he were to come back now, just game form, I don't think it would be there. So Germany's so deep, like they have so many players, but yeah, Wirtz was
so good time to buy him.
Well, it definitely
I haven't looked at his pricing, but I mean, I would assume that it would be slightly down from where it was because he was flying high. He was a very hot prospect at one time.
Oh man, he was scorching hot. I sold an orange refractor auto for a good chunk of change at one point. Big Ross is back in Wales with buying some Nico Williams, Mega Cracks, and Mosaic. Is that the Nico Williams I'm thinking of? That right? He's Welsh.
Nico Williams, Nottingham Forest, right? Was on Liverpool. Yeah, he plays for Wales.
All right, cool. I was making sure I was thinking about the right thing. But Mega Cracks was confusing to me because Mega Cracks is Spanish set. So that's why I was like, I'm not really sure. Because did he play in La Liga at one point?
I didn't think so. I thought it was Liverpool.
Yeah, I thought so too. Maybe it was just the wrong set, or maybe I'm just wrong in some capacity.
I could be too. That's the one thing I've learned is I always have something to learn. So people know a lot more than I do.
Definitely agree with that. Spain. Maybe there's two different Nico Williams. Because this guy, I know that, yeah, that's NICO. NECO is the one for Wales. So I guess that just different player in general.
Oh, is it different? We're talking different.
Yeah, different players. Justin likes the simplicity.
Nico, okay, I got it. Yep.
Justin likes the simplicity. The Bowman MLS cards, not every set needs to be a flashy mosaic set with 37 parallels. That is true. Simplicity does go a long way in cards, and it has historically as the sets from like 10 years ago. They have way less parallels. They do super well. And also, Jordan, I will sign the petition to grant Holland some U.S. citizenship for this World Cup. Bring him here. Let him play a striker. Let's see what happens.
They're talking the Williams brothers at Bilbao.
Oh, I saw that.
That's who they're talking about. Sorry, I'm so locked in. I just watched Nottingham Forest get thrashed by Leicester City, so I'm all about that game right now.
Nate won't even turn on the TV to watch Arsenal, yet Andrew will watch championship level football with a team he doesn't even support.
No, that's Premier League. I mean, Leicester City and Nottingham Forest.
I'm dumb.
You're good. You're good. But yeah, it was the Monday game today that I was cluing.
Tries to insult me.
Rodgers was going to get
ends up making himself look like an idiot.
I did look like an idiot, but the only reason why I thought like an idiot was because Andrew is known to watch random.
I watch. I'll turn on Watford, Stoke City. Yeah, 4-0 Watford. Yeah, if my kids let me watch it, I'm in.
Exactly. That was the point there. But yeah, Nate's right. That one did backfire. I'm always looking to take a shot at Nate. Yeah, that one it blew up in my face. To end it here, I want to speak about something quick that is actually happening in accordance with the World Cup. We talked about this last night on our FlipQuest episode, PWCC, but our great partner at PWCC, they are doing something super cool that is very awesome, I think, for all soccer collectors and card fans or people who are looking to get into soccer, or maybe sell some soccer here before the World Cup comes. And what they're doing is each week of the World Cup, they're running a specific event through their weekly auction and having a big premier auction end during the World Cup for soccer cards specifically. Yes, there will be other cards like baseball and football still going through the weekly auction, the premier auction, but they're going to have specific tabs on pwccmarketplace.com where you can go and you can only see the soccer cards and you look at those. Maybe you find players you're trying to buy that might be undervalued. Maybe you're trying to get a player just because you love collecting cards in general. Like you see maybe your favorite player, maybe it's Jude Bellingham score for England, and then boom, you just want his card that badly. Like sometimes, honestly, like, yeah, we look at it and we're like, oh, don't buy it when that big moment happens. But even as a collector myself, I've definitely found times where I'm watching a game. I'm just so excited about what someone did that I don't even care what the price is. I just want that thing in my collection, even if it's for the next 3 years and I got that card and I'm happy. So definitely some moments like that will probably happen during this World Cup. But the point here is that they're running these events weekly on the weekly auction. And if you do want to sell your cards, I would say that if you have not sold them yet, or you're planning on selling them now, or you're looking to sell them throughout the World Cup, that what we're doing, a lot of our cards are already at the vault here for soccer. But if you hop on a pwccmarketplace.com, you can create an account very quickly if you have not done so yet. And you get assigned a vault number. Then you just click submit in the top right corner. You just type in how many cards you're sending. You print out that paperwork, put it in a box with all your cards. I'd say take a picture just for yourself so you know which cards you're sending. They get ingested into the vault pretty quickly, and then they'll be there already in the vault, ready to flash auction at any point during this World Cup and get into that event. I have to say, when it comes to drawing eyeballs to specific places, this is a really great way to do it, where it consolidates all the cards that are about the World Cup, about soccer, into one place to where there's going to be buyers and sellers active at the same time. And I'm super excited for these events. You bet that when these World Cups are happening, we'll be running our Sunday episodes. A lot of it based on the World Cup and looking at different cards available there. And even for ourselves, flash auctioning a couple of cards. Maybe Pedri is a great game, gets a goal and assist or something. Boom, flash auction, see how it does that Sunday night. So very excited to see that. But just make sure that you do have your cards in time for that. And I do believe I'm going to have to check and come back to everyone in a newsletter or with it in a future episode that raw cards are able to be submitted. And they are doing the new thing now with Raw Card Marketplace, where it's going to be launching pretty soon here, where there's going to be a condition report provided for each card that goes live in the auctions, actually. So if you are a buyer or even a seller, you know that the condition is going to be known by both the buyer and the seller. I don't know how many times other people have ran into problems with eBay returns where people are claiming false things about condition, and then you got, get the card back, try to sell it again. It just draws out the process. But there's going to be a condition report provided by MBA, and it's a small fee per raw card. I think it depends on if it's going for sale right away versus if it's in the vault. I just need to get all that pricing details solidified. But either way, the point is that your raw cards should be able to be sold around this exact same time as well, which would be pretty cool because normally it's just slabs right now. But super excited about those events. And Andrew, we might have to have you on for one of those FlipQuest episodes if you're game. because I know there's gonna be a lot of excitement around the matches that are happening.
It's going to be a good time. Strap yourself in. We got to get to that November 20th day ASAP.
I know, man. I'm super excited. Jordan, we got some questions here. Jordan says, Nate, are you more interested in soccer or F1? No wrong answer here.
Oh, soccer by a long shot.
Soccer by a long shot. Manny says, Aaron, who are you playing for, England or US, if you are a top striker? Are you saying if I have dual citizenship and I can pick? I'm going to England.
I think we're continuing the conversation from last night where you basically admitted that you love England way more than the US of A.
Andrew's like, I need to get away from this guy right now. First of all, I just said I love watching the English Premier League. And I'm a really big fan of a lot of the players because I watch them every single week. I don't watch the U.S. Men's National League players, like men's national team players, like ever. I don't know how I'm supposed to like really fall in love with these guys if I don't watch them play, other than like once when the World Cup comes or these qualifiers that come up. And also, they're kind of stinky on the pitch. They're not very exciting to watch at times. So.
It's a fair, like, some of the guys I even see on the U.S. Men's National team, I'm like, why are they on the team? I mean, some of them are, like is it Roldan?
Dude, I don't even know who that is exactly.
MLS, like, I mean, so some of these guys, I'm like, man, there's got to be some. I don't watch MLS as much as I would watch other sports. Like, I do clue into the Minnesota Loons a little bit because they're kind of the local team here, and I lived in the cities for a while. But like, most of my attention, most of my eyes are again like on the Premier League. I try to keep up with La Liga and the Bundesliga and Serie A and Ligue 1 and all that other stuff. But it's where my eyes go. So yeah, you want to root for those guys that you watch or even on your team.
Exactly, man. Mason Mount and Reece James, that they're both starting for the World Cup. Do you really think I'm not going to cheer for the Chelsea's young superstars? So let's hope Mason Mount still fulfills that promise. But yeah, I don't know. I get it. I mean, I will want USA to do well, but let's be completely honest. The USA is not going to have great success in this World Cup. I definitely am not going to say, oh no, England, let's make sure they don't get to the World Cup final and beat Brazil and rub it in Nate's face because all the Arsenal players play in Brazil.
Hey, whoa.
Sorry, Andrew. Although Osaka is on England, but Chris says Mason Mount will make a comeback in this World Cup. Just watch, man. I sure hope so. I'm really fingers crossed that gets him back into form. Brooke, the last thing we'll talk about here, I know we're a couple minutes after session, but I missed the start. Holland may share the record, but is really that big of a record as all of the best players are spread out in other leagues where MLB is true best of the best. That's a fair point, right? Like, you didn't see Messi play in the Premier League, when he was in his prime of his career. So that's also a good valid point, Brooke. Manny says confirmed 2 days in a row. Aaron hates USA. I guess Manny knows best, I guess. That is all we have for tonight's episode. The last thing I want to shout out is that throughout this week, 6 p.m. Eastern time on Whatnot, if you are looking to get some fun pack openings, it's pretty affordable to buy into our pack openings and breaks over on Whatnot. We do soccer openings around 2 to 3 days a week. This week, 3 of them, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Nate will be live Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll be live on Thursday. So make sure to check those out. Otherwise, Andrew, last thing you have to say about the World Cup. You got like 30 seconds. Let's hear it.
It's a beautiful game. Everybody's got to get in on this. I'm telling you. There's nothing like it. I mean, it's the world's game, and the world comes together to celebrate the World Cup. It's on a different level. It's just, I can't tell you enough. Get in, come join us on the road to the World Cup. It's fun. Hopefully you get some information, but man, it just makes me smile. It gets me energized. We got to get to that November 20th date. I have waited long enough. Let's rock and roll.
My cheeks are starting to hurt. I'm laughing so much from Andrew's excitement. All right, everyone. Really appreciate y'all coming to today's episode. This is Andrew from St. Croix Soccer Cards running our Road to the World Cup series. Hope you all have a great rest of your evening, rest of your weekend. We'll see you back here on Sunday for the Flip Quest episode number 38.
See you guys.